everyone, happy Tuesday, welcome back. I hope we all did well on the ticket in the door, but we have a whole new rule that we need to learn today, okay? Alright, so you should have in front of you at this time worksheet 5.4.4, and for the second rule, the essential question is, what relationship exists among the segments of two secants? So we can see two secant segments, segment AB and segment AC, that are drawn from a common point outside the circle, that is point A, okay? So, let me move this up and let's talk about it. You need to have your pencils and a calculator on your desk so you can take notes, okay? If two secants are drawn from a common point, and you do have two secants that are drawn from a common point, the product, let's all write the product, of the outside part and the whole secant, we're going to leave the outside part and whole. For this secant, it has a part on the outside, so we label this outside. And the whole secant goes from point A to point B. So this is the whole thing. So to get the measure for the whole secant segment, we need to add, we combine. We combine the outside plus the inside part to get the measure, okay? Equals the product of the, once again, we have an outside part. And for this secant segment, the outside part is segment AY. And the whole other secant, the whole thing. To get the measure of the whole thing from point A to point C, we add the outside plus the inside. And that will give us the whole thing. Okay? Alright, you can see the equation written here. So, once again, for the outside is segment AS times the measure of the whole thing. The whole thing goes from point A to point B. Point A to point B. To get this whole measure, add outside plus inside. And set that product equal to, for the second secant segment, this is the outside part from point A to point Y, and multiply that times the measure of the whole thing from point A to point C. And to get this whole measure here, because we've got two parts, we add them together, outside plus the inside. Okay? All right. So we're going to write this equation one more time, and then we will actually use it with these three practice problems. So I need you all working with me, okay? All right. So Landon, make sure you are focused and you can see the board. Okay? All right. So what is the equation again? Let's kind of write it out, and then we're going to plug into it over and over again. So we begin with the outside times the whole thing. How do we get the whole thing? We add the outside plus the inside. Alright? And set that product equal to, for the second secant segment, outside part times the measure of the whole thing. How do we get out the whole thing? Outside part plus the inside. Okay? So let's substitute into that equation. So beginning with this first secant, it has a part on the outside, 4, times the measure of the whole thing. To get the whole thing, I add x plus 4. You can say 4 plus x or x plus 4. And set that product equal to, for this secant, begin with the outside part, 2, and you multiply that times the measure of the whole thing. So I add 2 plus 8. So now we want to simplify this equation. On the left, we need to distribute the 4 with these two terms on the inside of the parentheses. So 4 times x plus 4 times 4, 16. And for this side, since you only have numbers, no variables, just plug this into your calculator as you have it written on your papers. Or you can just simply simplify it mentally. So we know 2 plus 8 is 10, and then 10 times 2 is 20. And now to isolate x, we want to move the 16 first by subtracting 16 from both sides. And that leaves 4 times x is equal to 4. And then we need to divide each side by 4, and we find that x is 1. Very simple. All right, so now let's go to the second problem. Same concept. We have two secant segments that share a common point on the outside. So we want to, I like to begin with the variable term first. So let's begin with this secant. So we begin with the outside. 14 times the measure of the whole thing. So we combine outside plus inside, x plus 14, and set that product equal to, go to the second secant segment, begin with the outside times the whole thing. We add 25 plus 12, add the two parts together. So now, let's simplify what we have on the board. I need my calculator this time, okay? So we need to distribute on the left, 14 times x is 14x, plus 14 times 14, we get 196. And on the right side, plug it all in as you have it written on your paper, since we do not have any variable terms involved. Make sure it matches what you have on the board or on your papers. And I got 444. Let's move 196 to the other side. So that leaves 14x on the left. And on the right, 444 minus 196 give us 248. Divide each side by 14. And that leaves 124 over 7, which is approximately, press your SD key, and that is 17 and 71 hundredths. And there we go. And it's okay to get a decimal or a fraction. So now let's try this once again. And I'll tell you what, I'll just pause for maybe 2 minutes and give you a chance to get started. So don't just sit there. Go ahead and set up your equation based on what we've done so far, and then work it out. So now, let's work it out, because Landon can't keep this thing straight. He keeps shaking. I'm not doing like this. All right? But anyway, I may begin with this secant because it has the variable. So, but we got to begin with the part on the outside, not the x. So we say 6 for the outside, and then we take the measure of the whole secant, which is x plus 6, and set that product equal to for the other one. All right, for the outside, we have a 5. But to get the measure of the whole secant segment, you can go ahead and put 20 if you want to. But it's 15 plus 5. And now we want to distribute on the left. So I get 6 times x is 6x plus 36. And then on the right side, I know 15 plus 5 is 20. And 20 times 5 is 100. Move the 36 to the right side of the equation. That leaves 6 times x is equal to 64. Divide each side by 6. So 64 divided by 6, that gives us 32 over 3, which is approximately 10 and 67 hundredths. And there we are. Okay? Are there any questions? Well, we have a second rule we need to learn today as well. It's not hard. We learned part of it already. So now I need for you to flip your paper to the other side. And let's look at this other concept. Show it.